Alright, it is TBR Unwrapping time. Woohoo! Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you my 10th TBR Unwrapping. And because it is my 10th, and because it has been 1 year since I started doing this, I went with a rather large pile of books, folks. I went with a rather large pile of books. I did pre-select these. There was one particular book that I am looking for, which will make sense once I get to it. But generally, I actually decided to go mostly with books that I felt had been on my shelf the longest. Since it's been a year, I thought, let's get those out. Just like when you cycle, I don't know, clothing, or like when I worked at a bar, it's like you cycle the beer, like you bring anything that's been in the fridge the longest, you bring to the front and you put the new stuff in the back. So that's kind of what I was trying to do. I was trying to find the ones that have been here the longest, and there's a couple in here I specifically know what they are, but there's still lots of surprises, and then there's a couple that I'm looking for something in particular, and I don't know if that's what I selected, including this first book, which is my red category, which is Canadian books. And I have a lot of big Canadian books that are currently unread, and a bunch of small ones because I bought a bunch recently. But there is one in particular that I'm looking for, so I'm really hoping that this is it. So we shall see if this is it. Let's just get started. Let's see. This is it. Is that more paper? More paper. This is not it. Okay. That's okay. I'm still looking forward to this one. So this is Sweetland by Michael Crummy, and this was a finalist for the Governor General Literary Award, and apparently it was also one of the Globe and Mail Best Books. This is actually a gift a couple of years ago from my dad, and when I was I think for the past several years, I have been trying to work through the Governor General list, and the new one will be announced, I think, in September for the finalists. But yeah, so I'm curious to check this out. This is not what I was looking for, but that's okay. That's okay. I think it's set in Newfoundland. So, Newfoundland, here we go. I have not read anything by Michael Crummy before, so yeah. All right, off to an exciting start. Wow, that's a big one. It's a big one. Now I'm a little like, oh no! It'll be good. I have a really good feeling about this. It's 322 pages. It's the trade thick page goodness. Okay, so Canadian book picked. Next book. Ooh, this. Oh, I had stuff fly off of that. Okay, so these are the yellow and orange books are books that are part of my Those Books project. And I will link above. I've been trying to work a little more intentionally on this. I'm currently reading Pride and Prejudice, so this will have to be after Pride and Prejudice. They tend to be heavier books. Can't tell what it is. Can't tell it. Oh my gosh, this is Madame Bovary? Madame Bovary, wow, okay, so heavy stuff. Okay, Pride and Prejudice, and then Madame Bovary. Actually, Pride and Prejudice and then Shipping News, which I got in the middle of, but then switched. And then so Madame Bovary. I'm really looking forward to reading this, actually. And there was a film adaptation. It's got to be a couple years ago now, I think. Yeah. So, and I want to see that as well. But I always want to read the book, especially for classics. So, wow. Okay. These are heavier things so far. So this is the white papers are for books that are plays, poetries, and collections. I'm not too sure actually what this is. I hope it's a play because plays tend to be easier. Shorter, to not take as long to read. That was the sentence I was looking for. Is it Waiting for Godot? Awesome! So that will not take me a long time. Yay! And I'm not sure. 60 pages. I am not sure how well, if at all, I know this story. And it kind of feels like it could almost be a Those Books book because it definitely feels like a title that is referenced often. And so that is always something that I look for in books, or something that is a tick box. Lizzie Faye recently did a Buzzwords and Boxes tag, which I hope to do very soon. And for me, well, book to film adaptations are definitely a tick box for me, but also things that are highly referenced in pop culture and or other media. So literature that's referenced in literature or books, movies, TV is definitely a tick box for me. I should remember that for when I do the video. Maybe I'll have to come up with something else for that. Anyway, Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. I forgot to say. Oh, I didn't say. Oh, I don't know how to say. So Madame Bovary is by Gustave Flaubert, I think. Not sure. And yeah, waiting for Godot, Samuel Beckett. Okay, so my next category is my gray books. This one's a bit silver. It's from Rogue One. Are catch-all fiction, so could be literary fiction, contemporary fiction, any fiction that's not another genre. So I have, you know, romance together, sci-fi, fantasy. I have mysteries and thrillers. I have, and then if it's not one of those and it is fiction and it's not part of a project, and if it's not a Canadian book, then it goes in gray. And there's actually a huge amount of books in the gray category. So I really should work on these. And I haven't had the best luck. Maybe this will turn the tide. We'll see. Will this book turn the tide? Oh my goodness! I do not think this book will turn the tide. So these are heavy titles. So we have Metamorphosis by Ovid. Wow. Wow. This is heavy stuff. So, okay. I am excited about this, don't get me wrong. And I could have maybe put it in myth, I think. A collection of tales transforming men and their myths as it transforms the art of storytelling. All of that is good. It is also, I imagine, going to be a bit of a heavier read in terms of the fact that it is not from recent times. So, Metamorphosis by Ovid. Okay, time for some romance. The pink paper, this one got a little purpley. The pink paper is my romance titles. One of the reasons I picked this one is because it's sort of in between pink and purple, especially on the side. Although I know it's pink, I'm actually fairly confident at what book this is. So we shall see. I think, do you want to know? I think it's a Harlequin, that's for sure. I know that. Probably a Nocturne. And it is Wild Wolf Claiming by Rhiannon Bird. This is really what I thought it was, and I am looking forward to checking this out. This is part of the, I think it's the Blood Runners series, which is one of the first Harlequin series that I read years ago when I got back into reading, and it's about werewolves, and it was weird, because the book before this sort of, I felt kind of pulled the series together, and then I think this one takes it in another direction or another location or something like that. So there's werewolves, and there's also a fair amount of suspense in this series, which is not terribly my favorite, but I do like I always like paranormal romance with werewolves, so, or almost always. It's going to be, that's another tick box. So, yay! Wild Wolf Claiming. Okay, so that one I knew which it was going to be. Next up, this one I do not know what it is. Brown is a new color. I did not have any browns when I started, but they are for mysteries, thriller, horror, or weird. And so that's a whole genre that actually probably the gray papers probably have a bunch of that in it, because I didn't think of it as sort of a separate genre, and I don't have a lot of horror. And this is one that I actually built up. Like, sometimes I get freaked out about how my books, the total books is growing as opposed to decreasing, but I intentionally went and bought a bunch of mystery, horror, thriller books. So you know, and this could be anything. It's the Omen! It's the Omen! I'm so excited! This is actually when I went intentionally to the Toronto Public Library Bookends bookstore, and I picked out a whole bunch of mystery horror thrillers, and including the Omen. And I think this is an adaptation. Like, I think it is a novelization. I wrote it, novelization. It's like, what's that word? So they made the film, and then the book was written afterwards. I'm really, really happy about that. So the Omen, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's totally gonna be fun. It's so weird to see the ones that are. Anyway, next up I'm gonna pick this big orphan black wrapping. Black is for my science fiction books, and I know which one this is just by the sheer size of it. I know what it is, and the size is a little it's perhaps a little deceptive, because it's not one book, it is actually 2 books. So this one I know what it is. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'm blanking on that. Okay, might need more ripping. More ripping. Whoa! Alright, here we go. So we have Heaven's Shadow and Heaven's War. And why I put these two books together is that I've already read Heaven's Shadow. It's the first book in a series by David S. Gower and Michael Cassett? But I have not read the second book, Heaven's War. And how I did sequels has different methods depending on the books. But this one I decided to put them together just in case I wanted to flip through Heaven's Shadow and or reread it before starting the second book. This is a current day-ish set science fiction series set on Earth, and then I can't remember what it is. There's an object approaching Earth, and then that sort of sets into a sort of realistic science fiction, but quite fun, spirited, I felt, story. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to checking out the second book in the series. I am trying to finish some series, so I thought this would be a good way to do that. I also wrapped these together because I don't think I had any room on my shelf for this book, so one issue at a time, one issue at a time. So that will be my science fiction pick, will actually be Heaven's War, which is the second book in the series. So that is that one, and now on to some books that I'm less likely to know what they are. So my green books are my nonfiction spirituality books, and I actually picked it because this picture freaks me out. It's like a baby old lady. And yeah, it was just, I just didn't want to look at it anymore, so that's the reason why I picked it. And this is the one, I think this might be the only category where I haven't picked out any new books. So these are all books that were previously on my shelf, so I know it's going to be a book that was that's been around since the first Unwrapping. So let's see what this baby, I don't know, and watches. I did lots of 2 pages books. Okay, actually I thought it might be this one. So this is the Wicca Spellbook by Jarena Dunwich, and there we go. So this is one of my nonfiction spirituality books, and it literally, I think it pretty much literally is, oh, it has different kinds. It has stuff about different amulets, and oh, it's actually a little different than I expected. Different kinds of divination. I thought it was more like recipe type spells. There is some. There's a magical cookbook at the end. So awesome. I think I did definitely browse through this when I originally got it back in the day, but I definitely have not read it from start to finish, so I will be reading that one. And next up, onto some more nonfiction. The blue wrapping is regular nonfiction, or all other nonfiction, which is one of my largest categories. I don't tend to buy a lot of new stuff in the land of nonfiction, but I do have a lot. And I know what this is because of the size. I only have one book, and I actually have 2 very similar books, so I figured let's get this one read. And because otherwise I might unwrap them in the same unwrapping. Oh wow, I really wrapped this one. 2 layers. Most of these have 2 layers. I don't think that was a good choice. It makes it harder to unwrap. Oh, and we have the back of the book, which is hard to see what it is. Oh no, that is the front of the book. So here we have the graphic work of M.C. Escher. And I don't know if, I love Escher. And my sister has a cat named Escher. I love that Escher too. But I love M.C. Escher's work. He does a lot of transitional optical illusion type of stuff. And absolutely amazing. And he's Dutch. I did not realize that. So yeah, a lot of really interesting pattern work where you see the same pattern, but in different ways. See, the white birds are facing one way and the gray birds are facing another way, but they're actually the same image. Just brilliant stuff here. And I don't know if this one, introduced and explained by the artist. So that's pretty cool. I love nonfiction art books so much, so I'm looking forward to reading this. And another nonfiction book, I had a Halo calendar one year, which I just loved. I've never played the game, but I love how it looks. I don't know what this is. This is hardcover. It's pretty big. I'm a little intimidated by this, but I figured the Escher book will be not that hard to get through. So let's see let's see what is hiding in this Halo book. Oh, I think I have a sense of what it is. And it's backwards. Yeah, okay, I know which one this is. So this is a book by Gretchen Rubin, and it is, oh my gosh, Better Than Before. Mastering the Habits of Everyday Life. I loved The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, and I'm actually currently reading Happier at Home by Gretchen Rubin, and she does a lot of work on habits, and then I think her newest book is called The Four Tendencies. And happiness and habits are the two things that I have read from her so far, and I think it's really, those are both really good, important things in life to create good habits and to work towards happiness if happiness is your goal. Everyone has different goals. And I think she has a very practical approach to things, and I really appreciate her work. So I'm looking forward to getting to this. This is actually a signed copy as I saw it. I got it during a book launch event type thing. So Better Than Before. Yay. All right. So one book left, and this book is fantasy, and it is Purple is Fantasy, and how I do, and it's a sequel. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you might have a sense of what this big honkin' fantasy book is, and how I figure out my sequels is I take an image, and like a very unique image, and I chop it in half, and I put half of it in the book before it, so I can match it up to this one. So this is the outside of the next book in the series, for which I have just finished the previous book in the series. So that's how I did series for when I had a bunch of Unwrap books in the series, if that makes sense. That doesn't make sense, let me know. So maybe I shouldn't, finishing the previous book in this series is part of the inspiration to, oh, that doesn't look like the right book. Is it the right book to do this? Is it? Oh no, it is. Hopefully it is, I think. Hopefully. Is this the right one? A Storm of Swords? I am looking for the third book in A Song of Ice and Fire. I think it is. Yeah, okay, A Storm of Swords. So there we go. That is the last one because I just finished reading A Clash of Kings. So now in September, I will be reading A Storm of Swords with the Read Your Face Off group over on Goodreads. So there you have it. There are the 11 books. I don't even know if I can pile all these on top of each other. These are some heavy titles here, man. Some heavy titles, some lighter titles, not many lighter titles, but some. I can't even get that all in one frame. Can I? Can I? Woo, let's just move back in time. So there you go. There are the 11 plus 1, because I included Heaven's Shadow in there, titles that I will be reading over the next while. I'm hoping to, do I have a plan? I'm not sure. I'm super set on finish these by a particular point in time. But I want to make a huge dent in them in the next month or so. Let's say that. Let's say by the end of September I want to have read at least, oh no, I'm not going to get my, I don't feel very commitment-y. I just want to enjoy. And now I have lots to choose from. Mostly heavy, except for The Omen. Well, it's heavy in a different way. Anyway, there you go. There is my really long unwrapping video. I hope that you enjoyed that. And I gotta get to reading because this is a lot of books and a lot of pages, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. These are all books that I am looking forward to. I think, hopefully, yes, I'm looking forward to all of these. Some of these I have to read other things first, but that's okay because then that lets me know I can start on the other ones. It's all good. It's all good. So thank you so much for joining me for this 10th unwrapping. I'm sorry it went really, really long, but you know, you gotta do these all in one take. I gotta do these all in one take. So that's how it went. Okay, thank you so much for watching.